year ago, on the fateful day of 8th November, Prime Minister Modi's Facebook page had this image posted. India takes a historic step to fight corruption, black money, counterfeit money and terrorism. All existing 500,000 notes will cease to be legal tender. And just take a look at the boxes below. The second one is particularly relevant to our discussion, the one which highlights real estate and says prices will come within the reach of common man. Cut to today, a year later, and we'll get to the bottom of whether this mission has been achieved. Has demonetisation, hailed as the biggest anti-corruption move by this government, truly cleaned up real estate and land deals of cash and black money? And has it brought down prices of apartments and land in any meaningful way? My panel today, Rajeev Talwar, CEO of DLF, Gulam Zia, Executive Director, Knight Frank, Samir Jasuja, Founder and MD of PropEquity, and Anuj Puri, Chairman, ANAROCK Property Consultants. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. I think let's start this discussion with me asking Rajeev, cleaning up that Indian real estate really badly needed, just the cash transactions going out of land and property, has that happened?
Good afternoon, Manisha and all the others on the panel. Yes, I think demonetization, or rather e-monetization, has had the desired effect. And I'm quite certain that while all, and in fact 99% of primary sales were through the banking channels earlier, the generation of cash after the demonetization has become extremely difficult, if not impossible, for salary earners, for young people who are coming onto their first jobs or the first few jobs, and for those who are nearing retirement. And therefore even secondary sales have shown a very, very marked downward trend in prices as well as in use of cash. And nothing more than the newspaper today. If you read the newspaper today, Times of India, it says that prices in the secondary market have come down by as much as 25 to 30%, and I'm sure they will go the same way, because we do have in the residential segment an oversupply situation at the moment, and therefore it is not anymore a seller's market in the secondary market. And hence, I'm quite certain that the step which was taken is the right step. It will lead to a new economic bearing for the entire nation.
Okay.
And the use by youngsters and by the young fold, as well as those who are salary earners, by use of cards will go up, and I think we are going towards a new economy itself.
All right, let me bring
Something which happened right in 1991 is happening again.
Okay, so you believe that we have the same big structural reforms which are happening, but I think let's just shift back our focus to demonetization and the cash part. Anuj Puri, I ran a Twitter poll to say, has cash gone out of real estate transactions, both land and flat? And guess what? An overwhelming majority still voted saying no. So what's going on? I mean, 90% of primary market, even before demonetization, was actually selling in white. That's what the industry always maintained. What has changed?
So Manisha, two things. One, on the new home sales, there wasn't really any cash element. So I continue to say is that there was no cash element even before demonetization, and there isn't. The sales have come down. The prices have also come down, and the prices have come down exactly what Rajeev said, is that because the secondary sale prices came down, given that the cash element went out, it had a cascading impact on the new home sales. It wasn't because there was cash element in those new home sales. So that's 7 to 17% price decline in the new home sales that has happened. On the secondary, the prices have come down by 25%, but equally the volumes have come down, and that is a reflection of your poll, where people are saying is that there is still cash.
All right, I think we've lost that connection. Let me come to you, Samir Jasuja. Why is it that people still believe that cash is not out of real estate transactions? Was it that all of it just stopped till December 31st, and as the economy is getting remonetized, cash is back?
Well, Manisha, firstly, on the price reduction of about 25%, the overall reduction has been that much, but the prices started to fall way before demonetization as well. We've given you data just post demonetization. So overall impact has been even more than 25% if you look at the last 2.5 years. Secondly, on the cash coming back in real estate transactions, as Anuj and Rajeev pointed out, in the primary market, the cash component was almost zero. As far as the secondary market is concerned, unfortunately, I would say the cash is back a little bit, but the quantum of cash in a particular transaction has come down significantly.
Let's take a look at some of the data that you send now that you speak about data. Look at the property registration, the percentage change that we see year on year. And there's been a downfall of 40% maximum in Hyderabad. Actually, I would say Noida, Greater Noida has seen a dip of 50% when it comes to property registrations. Sales, and we are talking about primary prices, those have actually dipped by almost 44 to 45% in some markets like Mumbai and, of course, Bengaluru and Kolkata. There's been a lot of meltdown. 40% above is what I see maximum here. Resale prices, well, the panelists are saying that demonetization maybe would be less, but if you take the entire year, you could actually have seen prices coming down by 25 to 30%. Gulam Zia, your assessment of what's happening in terms of cleanup of real estate. Now, we've been speaking about buyers, but what about land? And what about when you enter government offices for any kind of land or real estate transaction?
Well, this is something which is obviously getting into the grey side of area, and hence talking something with conviction may actually be really very difficult to prove. But then, yes, of course, while there have been a clear reduction or perhaps a fear factor that what if I take those new notes, will they last long or not, the age of the new note itself, a question, etc., is reverberating all around. But there is cash, and in land transaction for sure, there are people talking about cash, etc. I'm fully with the panel that on the primary sales with reputed developers, there has been, in any case earlier it was very less of it, and now it has reduced further. But in secondary sales and even in primary sales in tier 2 locations or B or C grade developers, you still have the traces of cash making rounds. But then overall, I'm sure it has reduced, but far from complete elimination.
Land transactions, and those are the critical ones. Anuj Puri, what's your own assessment of the situation? They're still very opaque. And, you know, if you look at the World Bank ranking, though we tom-tommed it, we talked about the fact that we've got into the top 100. Construction permits, we still rank at 181. And registration of property, we actually dipped in ranking to 154, which was not a good number. So this whole opaqueness around construction permits and registration of properties, still a big bothersome?
You're absolutely right, Manisha. There are two parts to this. One is the land acquisition, and the land acquisition has always been a grey area, other than when it's a corporate disposition or a government auction, which is on full check. What we are finding is, whilst the seller still wants cash, the buyer of that land is saying I cannot give, I don't have the cash, and hence the reasoning to move towards a joint venture or a joint development kind of a program is gaining more momentum, which really eradicates the need for cash in a land deal. But having said that, does the buyer still expect, if they are selling it on an outright basis? Absolutely, they're still expecting that you will be able to, there will be a cash element that will be made available to the seller. But in majority of the transaction, we've seen that has now moved to joint venture, joint development. The second part of your question is on the permits, and I agree with Gulam that whilst it is difficult to say it with full conviction, we have heard from the developers that there is still the need for cash that is required to be able to secure permits in time.
Rajeev Talwar, as Narrateco, what is your solution to this problem? I mean, approvals have always been cumbersome for real estate developers. Graft is very well accepted. It doesn't seem to have gone out of the system even after demonetization.
Well, what does demonetization have to do with it? If there is a demand for
this government says that it was meant to take away, corruption. It was meant to actually bring in transparency, but that's not happening.
It has, because generation of cash has become extremely difficult for anybody, whether as a business enterprise, and I think Anuj has very rightly said that people are moving towards joint development agreements. Basically, I think India's been used to in an era of licensing that yes, some people will be able to monetize land in form of cash and get, expending or expenditure grants kind of almost. But this system has now changed. This is a big reform in the system, and cash is tough to come by. Therefore, most of the people who own land also don't seem to be getting it. That's why prices have come down. And these are all small parcels. Believe me, nobody is doing major land banking now anywhere in the real estate domain. So therefore, any large developer, any large acquisitions on land are not happening. I think that era has gone by almost 6 to 8 years ago. And whatever small plots may be exchanging, people might be expecting some cash. But right now, if you see what are registration amounts going up, I think it proves the point that yes, prices have come down and most of the transactions are happening through the banking channel. Maybe some small instances do arise.
Okay, you're talking about prices. Samir Jasuja, new launches, we've already looked at the data and, nationally, I would not go city by city. They'll get flashed on the screen, but people talk about 70% down, 80% down. I mean, the numbers are varying between different cities. My question to you is, new launches are down, prices are down, but if I look at rental yields today of Indian residential real estate is still at 2 to 3%. And yet we have developers and the industry which is saying there's absolutely no room for prices to come down further. Why? According to me, they still seem inflated if I take that yardstick.
Manisha, I would here for the first time agree with the developers where I don't see prices coming down any further. I think we've kind of hit the rock bottom here, especially on the secondary market prices where there is a lot of interest that has started to come back into the market, and there are transactions that have started to happen in the secondary market because the rates have become really affordable.
All right, you spoke about under construction properties, you spoke about RERA. Now my big question is, why will buyers buy projects which have 5-year to 7-year listed on RERA website as completion date? What will it take for demand to come back? Because as of now, demand seems to be missing from Indian real estate. Is it an effect of demonetization or is there more to it? We'll continue to have that conversation after the break.